Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Swaminarayan Namaha. Om Shri Hari Krishna Maharajaya Namaha. Om Shri Ghansham Maharajaya Namaha. Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Welcome to SwaminarayanSpirituality.com. Today is the 20th of October 2024. I want to offer my prostrations to all the sages and to Shriji Maharaj, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, and to all the incarnations of God. And with that bhavana, I'm continuing right from where we left off last time about the footnote that is placed in the BAPS app, where in Garuda Pratham 1, the question about Maya is asked, where Shriji Maharaj is asked this question by Govardhan Bhai, who is a householder devotee. Just a quick review. ત્યાર પછી હરિભક્ત શેઠ ગોવર્ધનભાઈએ શ્રીજી મહારાજ પ્રત્યે પ્રશ્ન પૂછ્યો છે, જેને ભગવાનની માયા કહે છે તેનું રૂપ શું છે? He's asking the question to Maharaj, what is Maya? What is the form of Maya? તેનું રૂપ શું છે? Can you describe it? What is the form of Maya? પછી શ્રીજી મહારાજ બોલ્યા છે, ભગવાનનો ભક્ત હોય તેને ભગવાનની મૂર્તિનું ધ્યાન કરતા જે પદાર્થ આડું આવીને આવરણ કરે તેને માયા કહીએ. Maharaj gave this answer that one who is a devotee, a bhakta of Bhagwan, when that such a person is doing dhyan of the murti of God, of Paramatma, Bhagwan, whatever is coming as an obstacle, je padarth, people, places, things, desires, anything, it comes and it causes an obstruction, that is Maya. That's the basic answer Maharaj has given there. So we have been expounding on that, and in the BAPS app, there's the footnote that is beautifully written, and I talked about this last time. I won't repeat all that again. So I'm just going to continue from the last recording, where Pujya Yogiji Maharaj described dhyan in another, as a commentary in a way here. It's very practical and very interesting, and see if we can probe this a bit. So he stated this way, આપણે સેવા કરતા હોઈએ ત્યારે મહિમાનો વિચાર કરીએ તે ધ્યાન જ છે. મહિમા કરતા ખેતર, નોકરીએ, ધંધે જતા હોઈએ તે ધ્યાન જ છે. It means that when we perform seva, service of any kind, or while we are performing service of any kind, if we contemplate on God, it is dhyan. Whether one is working in the fields, at a job, doing any work, contemplating on the glory of God is dhyan. This is the basic translation. So this passage connects dhyan with seva. It's an interesting connection, because it demonstrates that meditation is not limited to formal seated practice, but can be integrated into daily activities. It highlights the potential for spiritual elevation, even within mundane tasks, by maintaining a focus on the divine. So the point here is that, yes, tasks are mundane. You could be cutting vegetables or working in the fields or doing some other kind of job. That's a relatively straightforward job. If the job is very complex and you have to focus on the job more, that's all. Just offer the whole activity to God, and that becomes karma yoga. But the point is that there is the potential for spiritual elevation even while performing mundane tasks, by keeping attention and focus on Bhagavan, or on God. Now, this is interesting because the traditional understanding of dhyan often emphasizes mental stillness and withdrawal. That's what generally we think of it that way. Generally, we think of dhyan as mentally still, sitting quietly and doing dhyan meditation. This is our vision in our mind. So it's mental stillness and withdrawal from external activity. But let's keep in mind that this passage actually presents a dynamic and active conception of dhyan, which is integrated with the performance of seva, which is activity that is done and that is offered to God and to great sages as a seva. So this is a dynamic and active conception of dhyan. It's a very different type of conception then the mental stillness and withdrawal from external activity, that is also there. And Maharaj has also talked about that in many places in Vachanamrut. But here, specifically, Yogiji Maharaj, in his exposition, is giving a very meaningful, practical, and applicable approach to dhyan, because this is something that we actually can do, to sit and still the mind and withdraw from external activity and focus on the murti. And this is a very difficult thing, actually. You will not be able to do it very well. We can do this instead. If you cannot do the other one, do this instead. Or do both if you can, if we can. Right? So this redefinition challenges the dichotomy between contemplation and action. There's contemplation. Contemplative dhyan is there. You can sit quietly and contemplate on the manan chintan. One can do on the form of Bhagavan. But one can also be active in the material world and still be in a meditative state, which suggests that true spiritual practice involves harmonization of both contemplation and action. How beautiful. See the power of enlightened saints like Yogiji Maharaj. He's speaking from Anubhav because whatever he has taught, it was in his life. He didn't speak anything that was not in his life, and he was totally seva oriented. Yogiji Maharaj was the param sevak, completely beyond ego. There was no ahankar at all. 100% seva was there in his life. And that is what touched thousands and thousands of people. It's not spiritual discourses and it's not YouTube recordings or other things. Those things are good. I mean, we do that as a seva also. But it's the genuineness with which contemplation and action were performed in his life, and he mastered this, and that's why he spoke this line. That line is, Apne seva karta hoye, tere mahimano vichar kariye, te dhyanat che, mahima vicharta khetar nokriye koi pan काम करिए, काम होइए ते ध्यानच छे. Right? So any kind of action. Right? So te dhyanat छे. So that is amazing. I mean, it's a beautiful integration of contemplation and action. Now, seva is a form of worship. When seva, meaning activity, mental, physical, verbal, any kind of activity, it doesn't matter, because with the body we're going to perform activity. We don't have any choice. Na kaschit kshanamapi, as in the Gita it is stated, you cannot live without action. Everyone is performing action. So that make the action into seva. So seva, and then that seva then becomes a form of worship. So action as seva as form of worship. That elevates the mumukshu or the jivatma from the mundane level to the level of divya chintan, divine contemplation. Right? So it is the infusion of mahima, the glory of Paramatma, that elevates mundane actions and fosters spiritual growth in the overall structure of the Vachanamrut. All right, so having said that, let's go a bit further here. This passage, or this line that Yogiji Maharaj spoke, which is written in the footnote, it asserts that seva is to be infused with mahima. Right? So now you've got seva. The seva, people do seva. It's possible to do like a karma yoga activity, that I can perform activity, the job, and I can do it well and offer the entire action at the end to Bhagavan and to pray to Paramatma before performing the action. So there's no ahankar in the seva. But now we're taking it a bit further. Yogiji Maharaj is taking it one level up at this point. He says now infuse that same seva bhav with mahima. Mahima meaning great, extraordinary, great extraordinary glory of God. Bhagwan no Mahima, Bhagwan Santa no Mahima. With that Mahima, that God is present everywhere, Anvay, Vyatirek, Pragat, Karta, Sakar, inside, outside, in the Atma, outside the body, inside the body. I mean, just the presence. Mahima means the extraordinary presence, the all doership, Karta, Harta, all those Upasana concepts, Sakar, Sarvopari, Pragat, Karta, Harta, all of those concepts, those aspects of Upasana, that the glory of Bhagwan is so intense that there's no forgetting God. So when we perform activity in the mundane world, where seva is infused with mahima, even though the world is mundane and the activity is related to the mundane world, meaning the material world, bhautik jagat, bhautik kriya, vyavarik kriya, even though that is happening that way, when seva is infused with mahima, the entire activity becomes a form of worship. It is dhyan. It becomes a form of worship in the sense that it is dhyan. આપણે સેવા કરતા હોઈએ ત્યારે મહિમાનો વિચાર કરીએ, તે ધ્યાન જ છે, મહિમાનો વિચાર. That the thought, the thinking capacity shifts into mahima, linking with seva bhav in the activity that is being done. Think about this amazing interconnection. So this is a tremendous guidance that is given. The guidance is very clear. આપણે સેવા કરતા હોઈએ, first we have to get to that stage. Is Sachin performing verbal, mental, physical action throughout the 24-hour cycle as seva? Or am I doing it out of my deha bhav, my own ego, my own vasanas, etc.? So to come to the stage of seva, that's a big thing. Seva muktishya gamyatam. Seva doesn't stop ever. It continues all the way into the Akshardham also. So the word seva is the master key. If we understand this one word, that is enough in its own right to fix our mind into the form of God. That even in the dham, the akshar muktas are constantly in seva, meaning in service of the Lord, in service of Bhagwan. Nobody becomes God in Vishishtadvaitam, Tattva Gnan. So Bhagwan is wo ek hi hai, there's only one. And all are doing seva. But from our point of view, from where we are trying to do sadhana, our sadhana becomes seva. So if in the 24-hour cycle, every breath, every thought, every idea, every movement of the body, everything that we do, eating food and drinking water and drinking orange juice and everything we're doing, watching YouTube videos or going to work or talking to family members or whatever we're doing, it can be seva and it needs to be seva. All of it, not partially. Now, once we reach that stage that it's 100% seva, now Yogiji Maharaj is adding another dimension to this. And that dimension is mahimano vichar. Tare mahimano vichar kariye. So when we add the glory of Bhagwan, Satsang, saints, etc., Paramatma ka jo mahima, the great, extraordinary glory, which means so much, as I mentioned, the Upasana aspect. And I mean, there's just no end to what are the glories of God, the Lila Charitra, etc. We'll talk about that another time. Because otherwise we'll kind of just go into that only. But that mahima no vichar, once our mental capacity begins to get absorbed in the mahima of Paramatma, through bhajan, kirtan, etc., while performing activity. So there is no ahankar left in the activity. And so when these two combine in this way, which is a very big stage, to move into a stage where all 24 hours is seva. Even at nighttime, there's seva being done. Even by dreaming, there's seva being. Seva meaning one is in communion with Bhagwan. There's no craziness in the dream world and all that. So that's another point. If you really probe into this, there is this development eventually into a continuous seva state. And with that, the mahima the vichar, it's the activity, the active engagement with the divine, with God, right? So that is dhyan. So that is the dhyanaj che. So the way Shriji Maharaj answered this question, where he stated that when you're sitting for the chintavan of the murti, sitting for bhakti of the murti, you're sitting for dhyan of the murti, you're trying to meditate on the murti, whatever is coming in between that is the avaran, and that is maya. So Yogiji Maharaj expounded on this answer expounded on dhyan by saying, well, what is dhyan? Yes, there is that sitting still in that yogic dhyan and all that, that's there. Nonetheless, there is dhyan while performing activity also. And that's really quite remarkable. So this is a matter of application, and we can apply this because we are active. Most human beings have a heck of a time sitting still for even 5 minutes. Where's the question of mastering Ashtanga Yoga or any kind of other, body stilling yoga? It's very, very difficult. Mind stilling and body stilling, it's very tough. But while we're performing activity, transform the activity into seva and connect the seva with mahima, with the glory of Bhagavan. So mundane actions are infused with spirituality, with spiritual significance, which transforms the activity, and in fact, it transforms seva, or actually that seva becomes a form of worship, right? So this concept, as a concept, it emphasizes the importance of maintaining constant awareness of God's presence throughout one's life. I think that's pretty straightforward. Now let's go a bit further here. So this mahima is contemplating, the great qualities of God. Contemplating mahima during seva acts as the catalyst for this transformation from inside out. So reflecting on God's infinite qualities, Bhagavana Ananta Gun, boundless compassion, omniscience, omnipotence, divine beauty, so many things. There's an endless list of the qualities of Bhagavan. That elevates our psychological consciousness and connects the sadhak with a higher purpose. And that's the key. What is the goal here? The purpose is the realization of Bhagavan, to connect with Paramatma, so God blesses us and comes to us. And He's going to come to he or she or it, you call it what you will come to us in the realization when we are not in that ego state anymore. So this focuses, or this focus that the way that we're talking about Mahima plus Seva shifts the emphasis from the ego and its desires, because that's what human beings are constantly living through, is living through ego and living through desires. It shifts the focus from the ego and the ego's desires to the divine, to God, to Bhagavan. And that fosters a sense of humility. It creates humility, namrata, namrabhav, reverence, that is pujyata, that is worship, and surrender, that is sharanagati. You see how much is involved in this one line only of Shriji Maharaj's answer. If you really analyze it and keep probing it, it's just tremendous what comes out of it. And it really is not just about words and exposition. It's about realization. And that realization, to get to that realization, we want to be able to, really think about this in so many different ways. Listen to it, think about it, so that it becomes real. That's why Sachin is doing this. So it becomes real for Sachin. Just by talking about it doesn't become real, but that's a step in the right direction. Talking about it and listening about it and contemplating and thinking and mananchintan and asking the great sages for blessings, and ask and you shall receive, knock and the door shall be opened, as the Bible states. It depends what we're looking for, right? So the practice of seva as worship cultivates essential spiritual qualities. And how beautiful is that? We want to cultivate what? Money, wealth. We need that. Name, status, fame. Maybe if you have that, okay, you have it. No big deal. Don't be stuck with any of that stuff. That is just a means to an end. What is the end? That is the cultivation and development of essential spiritual qualities. And what are those spiritual qualities? There's three. I mean, there's so many. There's no end to the number, obviously. But I'll just mention three here. The practice of seva as worship, it eventually develops these qualities such as devotion. Bhakti develops by performing seva with a focus on God's glory. That act that we're performing could be anything, riding a bicycle or driving a car. It could be anything. The act becomes an expression of love and devotion because that is how we express it, through activity, deepening the bond between the devotee and the divine. That's the key. The devotee that's the bhakta. The divine meaning the divya tattva, the parabrahma tattva. Right? So there is a bond between the two. That bond is everything. That bond is the bandhan. There's some beautiful bhajans in the Gujarati language. I won't go through those right now, but they're there in every language actually. This is the bond between devotee, meaning bhakta, and Bhagavan. And that is the whole purpose of this entire journey in terms of understanding Maya. Maya is a power of Paramatma in one sense. But Shriji Maharaj and Yogiji Maharaj both are describing it in terms of the practicality of one's life, so that there is the development of a fantastic, unbreakable bond between Bhakta and Bhagavan, where love and devotion continue to flow. And in doing so, the other very important spiritual quality is humility, namrata, namra bhav. Very, very important. So recognizing God's greatness and one's own limitations fosters humility. Bhagavan no mahima. What is that mahima? What is that greatness? When we recognize, the more greatness we see of Paramatma, that God is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of millions and millions of universes. God is beyond the Akshara Brahman itself. All those kinds of things, that Tattvik Mahima. The more we believe it, accept it, think about it, internalize it, that is what is called Mahimanu Vichar. It's not just a superficial thinking, it is the internalization of the form of God through the contemplative, meditative reflection on the greatness of Paramatma. So recognizing God's greatness and one's own limitations. Now that's what happens here. One begins to see where one is faltering, where one is deficient, where one needs development, where the obstructions are coming. One can see, in fact, the answer Shriji Maharaj is giving is that we can actually understand, perceive, and be really aware of what is Maya when we are doing dhyan of the Murti. Then we can understand, perceive, and really see the structure of Maya. Maya nu Roop Suje. Roop meaning structure. Otherwise, it's an abstract idea. Otherwise, we don't know what is Maya. Even we're in it and we have no awareness of that. So Shriji Maharaj is raising awareness of what exactly Maya is within us through this process of dhyan, of the Pratyaksha and Pragat Murti, as we talked about in the last recording. Right? So to recognize God's greatness, that is called Olkhan. Recognition means Olkhan in Gujarati. To recognize that, that Maharaj is like this, Krishna is like this. To recognize the incarnations and then to believe in them, to place faith in them. That is also all necessary. That's all part of humility. Right? So the point here is that seva is performed with this awareness. So when seva is performed with this amazing awareness, that destroys and it actually diminishes the individualized ego, the ahankar, and it cultivates a profound and fantastic spirit of selfless service. That is the key. As Sachin is talking right now, for example, this recording that is being made, I'll put it on YouTube. I'll offer it to Maharaj, to all the gurus, to all the great incarnations. And then it will be placed on YouTube. Okay. Once it's there, it's there. That's the end of the story for me. Whoever sees it, listens to it, by the divine will, fine. It'll be available as long as YouTube will be around. It'll be available, and it'll be available in podcasts and other formats, right? Now, this is the point here. Is my ego involved in this? It can be. I have to look at that. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm trying to tell somebody something. I'm trying to expose these teachings or explain. The ahankar comes into the picture. If it comes into the picture, I have to be aware of that. That wait a minute. Why is this coming in? This is an obstruction. That's what Maharaj is saying. And what Yogiji Maharaj is saying here, that mahimano vichar, that it just is all just seva. So seva plus mahima. It diminishes the ego and cultivates selfless service, a spirit of selfless service. It is a technology that is being taught by these masters. Okay, now there's another point here, another great essential quality which is missing in most sadhakas, that is vairagyam. Focusing on mahima during seva, mahima meaning the glory of Paramatma, Bhagavan, with great faith, shraddha, nishtha, etc. During seva, what does it do? It reduces the attachment to the fruits of one's actions. Whatever actions we perform, we get a fruit, we get a result. But the attachment towards the fruits of the actions is reduced severely. In fact, and when real vairagya opens up, vairagya is that state of freedom from within, beyond attachment and detachment. Once that opens up, there is no more distraction in the meditation on God. So vairagya protects the devotee from other distractions. It removes all other distractions and negative attachments and all those kinds of things. So the act of service becomes less about personal gain. In fact, it becomes nothing about personal gain or recognition or anything. Like Sachin is speaking right now, this recording as an example, it'll be offered at the feet of God, and that's it. Then there's no other thought about that. I mean, people can ask questions or make comments and all that. That's fine. That is just additional seva. But there's no sense of me that I am doing anything here. If that comes, then I'm deluded. I'm deluding myself only. Very simple. Right? And this is true in every action in life. I'm just using this as one example. It's not, people, we tend to think of seva as service in the temple or in the church or in the synagogue or in some holy place and all that. Yeah, start there. But that's not the end point. Actually, seva is all the time. All 24 hours is seva. So the act of seva becomes less about personal gain or personal recognition and more about bhagavat prasannata, pleasing God and contributing to the greater good. Sarva bhuta hite rata. Right? It's very clear. So that's the shift. And there's nothing complicated about this in that sense. It's devotion, humility, vairagya, bhakti, vinay, vairagya. These qualities are fantastic. Fantastic. Some more points. So this understanding of seva as worship blurs the traditional distinction between the sacred and the secular. And that's interesting. It suggests that spirituality is not confined to designated times or places, but can be integrated into all aspects of life. And that's what so in integrating into all aspects of life means in everything we're doing, there is spirituality. There is the adhyatmic connection with Paramatma in everything we're doing. My God. I mean, beautiful. This is a matter of trying this. Real understanding it. Like I'm speaking right now, I have to see how much do I understand it. Do I understand it? Okay, I see it. I know it. Now I have to apply. Let it be applied. Let it be so. So this understanding of seva as worship, now the secular and the sacred are not all that separate. What that simply means is that we have our day-to-day worldly interaction, but even within that, there's the vision and presence of God. So spirituality is not confined to designated times and places. And that's what Yogiji Maharaj, as an example, or any other great saint in Swaminarayan Sampradaya or otherwise, they became great because they are not confined to designated times and places. Like Ramakrishna Paramahans, if you look at his life, you'll see he's doing worship at all different times. It's incredible. And he wasn't even maintaining many times the times of the arati and all that. He was doing different kinds of sadhana and all that, and they allowed him to do so. But if you're an employee at a temple, you have to perform the arati at a specific time, and he wasn't doing that at times. That's what I heard about that recently. So it's very interesting because he's lost in God. You cannot be stuck in time periods, be confined to times and places. Yeah, as a sadhana, it's okay in the beginning. Eventually, the sadhak needs freedom to do sadhana completely with Paramatma without the boundaries that are placed. I mean, this might sound crazy and it might sound a bit unusual for me to say this, but if you want to do the arati, this Swaminarayan arati, for example, Jaya Sadhguru Swami Prabhu Jaya Antaryami Sahajananda Dayalu Balavanta Bahunami. If you want to do this arati at 1 a.m., do it. Why not? Who's telling you not to? See, this is that kind of freedom you have to have in spirituality. But it's hard. It's very, if you're inside a group, inside an organization, you have to follow a certain pattern. You'll not be allowed to do that. So you just do it mentally if you want. But you cannot actually get up at 1 a.m. and light a diya in front of that Paramatma. But Sachin's opinion is you can do that. But many of the structures that are present in organized religions, they don't allow you to do anything outside their structure. And that's fine. If you can progress that way, progress that way. But there's also, like the life of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he couldn't handle that structure, even for that Dakshineshwar temple. That he was doing he's lost in Paramatma. Devotion is not something that is just a matter of mechanical sadhana and something that you do from time to time. It's not like that. It erupts from within. You're not doing devotion. It happens when it happens. And that's the difference between sadhan bhakti and prem lakshana bhakti. You see, so please don't misunderstand. I'm not trying to diminish the importance of designated times and places. But spirituality is definitely not confined to designated times and places. Yogiji Maharaj is saying that. Ramakrishna Paramahansa lived that way. Shriji Maharaj himself would get up at night time. At any time, instead, everybody come together and let's sing some bhajans and let's talk about the scriptures. Or he's not bound by any of that. Now, that doesn't mean that we are just to throw off all kinds of rules in our life. No, the rules are very important. Discipline is very important. But there comes a stage where we have to recognize that the presence of Paramatma and sadhana is not restricted just to that 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, a certain morning and evening and this. Yeah, do rituals. They are great. So don't misunderstand. But there comes a point where none of those boundaries remain. Something beyond that happens. It's a 24-hour absorption inside the Paramatma. And that is the great possibility of spiritual growth. Now we'll look at this in some further ways tomorrow. The goal here is to try to create one recording on Vachanamrut Manan Chintan every single day by the grace of Maharaj. Just like Sachin eats food 3 times a day, why cannot a Vachanamrut recording be done every day? It has to be done. It has to be done because even in just right now, today's contemplation, I did some research on this further. It helped me to pull some ideas together. It helped me. This helps me more than anybody else. I don't know if it helps anybody else or not. Paramatma ki ichha, God's wish. But this is important, that this kind of manan chintan is necessary. If we, just as each devotee does bhakti, try to do some katha varta. Try to do some contemplation. Some people just listen, but they don't talk much, or they don't try to contemplate. Contemplate, manan, chintan, nididhyasanam. These are important things to do, and to share ideas back and forth is very, very important in the spiritual life. If we don't share ideas back and forth, we'll just be passively listening or just doing some rituals and be stuck inside the realm of Maya, which is exactly what Shriji Maharaj does not want. All right, so there's a lot more to be said on this subject. There's a lot more. I mean, I don't know how many recordings have been created on this one line, but another another 20, 25, 30 recordings will easily be created, meaning the rest of this month into the next month, probably until we'll go into December before we actually move to the next paragraph. So there's a whole lot of stuff to actually cover. So how to elevate from mundane tasks, how to cultivate continuous or constant awareness of God, overcoming the illusion of separation. What is Nishkam Karma in connection to what Yogiji Maharaj is saying? What is the role of Sankalpa and intention? What is the importance of the Guru's guidance in this entire process of Dhyan? There's another 50 more topics here that are connected to all this. All right, so we'll continue on this further, one step at a time. May Shriji Maharaj, Gunatidan Swami, Gopalan Swami, 500 Paramahansas, all the bona fide Guru Paramparas present today in the world, and all the great devotees, bhaktas, may all bless me and keeping their Charan Raj on my head. With that bhavna, Jai Shri Swaminarayan, Jai Shri Sadguru. May all great sages, Gunatit saints, bless us all. With that, Hari Om.